there's different ways of looking at the metaverse, right? So, and the interesting thing about the metaverse as a concept is it's been pretty persistent, right? I mean, it was in vogue and out of vogue. It's now back in vogue. But like, memes are important, narratives are important. As a marketeer, somebody that worked in an advertising agency, that's just something, I understand the discipline and the power of storytelling. So the metaverse is a narrative. It's anchored in science fiction, and that's been exploited in different media that most people are aware of. If they haven't read the book of Ready Player One, they probably watched the movie, or they've seen some dystopic version of sci-fi, which gives them some framing of where the digital and the physical become a little bit blurred. Most people get that. Now, that's really helpful if as you say, you have an event horizon that everybody has a general understanding of. It also serves as a contact language. This space is so exciting and overwhelming is you're seeing the convergence of culture, finance, and tech. And each are compounding and reinforcing one another. You now have an incentive, really powerful incentive mechanism to coordinate distributed systems of people that don't have to know one another, but that can build powerful network, that can collaborate. And, I think the one thing I'm trying to wrestle with is, and I think this has really been brought through with NFTs and what we're seeing around the community component. NFT is almost the social layer. I argue they're kind of a social media without a platform. They're kind of the social layer to Web3. They're actually atomized socialness in a way, belonging, community. They're the kind of glue. And as you say, that can be quantified, objectively quantified. It can become collateral. It can be financialized. I can begin to borrow and lend against digital value that is otherwise pretty meaningless or trapped in a
because I thought that
you've now got a way in which the creative industry can communicate with people from the financial industry, the way that they can communicate with technologists, coders, people that wouldn't normally be able to communicate and work together and collaborate, especially not in a distributed sense. They now have this framing of the metaverse. That's why I think it's stuck. To your point around having an event horizon, it becomes important because it's not a destination. That's why we don't need to really define it. It's a process, right? It's the blurring of the physical and the digital. Does it require ubiquitous AR? No. Does it require affordable VR headsets? No. Does it have to be 3D? No. It's just when we stop differentiating between physical and digital, it becomes kind of one and the same or increasingly blurred. Now, the other reason why I think it's important to think of it as a process is it can be a process of capture and control. So in the context of Facebook and what it's doing with Oculus, wonderful bit of hardware. I've got one in the other room. However, it is capturing biometric data from how my eyeballs respond to visual stimuli that I'm not even aware of. The holy grail for somebody that wants to know how to trigger or what I like and what I don't like. It's 3D scanning my room as I'm playing with it, every room, the objects in that room. It's like the ultimate advertiser's tool. I just basically brought this thing into my house, into my body. It is a dystopic process of capture and control, right? If it is just Facebook extending their current business model to the metaverse, which it undoubtedly is, because it's almost impossible for it to exit out of that business model, we need to be aware that the metaverse is here, it's happening. It could go in either direction. I don't want to be utopic about it and say, well, the open metaverse is going to be perfect. Of course it's not. It's a permissionless, open innovation system. Right. Now, but what we do know is that there are some principles in its DNA, and those are this transferability of value, the sovereignty of the individual data wealth, all the things that I kind of just mentioned. And you can see that now in NFT platforms. I can mint something on an NFT platform, but nobody can stop me taking it off that platform and selling it on another platform in OpenSea. Nobody can stop me putting that as collateral in DeFi and borrowing and lending against it. So I think that fundamentally breaks the Web 2 model. I think that Web 2 can and should experiment with NFTs, but it is a Pandora's box. Once it's open for them, it's a gradual and then probably rapid decline. But when we published the Open Metaverse OS, it was also this rallying call because we described it as a spectrum. Of course, in crypto, there's always been this thing around decentralized and centralized, which often isn't that helpful. Let's imagine that there is an open and enclosed version of the metaverse, Oculus being the closed one, Fortnite being the closed one, and Decentraland and CryptoVoxels and OpenSea and everything else being the open end of the spectrum. The world, it was looking at the kind of compute and storage that they're using. So are you still using AWS, even if you're a decentralized, network on many other levels? So, but what was interesting about it was, and this is something I'm still wrestling with. So we said there's open and closed, and we said, obviously we're for open. We think open's better. Around about the time that Facebook came out and said they're transitioning into being a metaverse company, I actually kind of dismissed them out of hand, because I felt that if you aren't, so what is the metaverse? Firstly, there's only one metaverse, singular. For it to be the metaverse, it has to be meta to all else. I believe that the most important characteristic of the metaverse was it was an open economic system that unified verses or worlds. I felt for me, the only thing that's even close to that is crypto. So for me, the metaverse has to have crypto in some form for it to be the metaverse, to allow for this transferability of value across worlds, versus. And so I kind of felt that if you're not connected to crypto, be it NFTs or fungible tokens or cryptocurrencies, whatever it is, then you're not actually part of the metaverse. You've just built a great game. And therefore, the only way that could be the metaverse is if it ended up becoming so big and successful that it consumed everything else, which I think is unlikely to happen. Of course, that was kind of the premise of Ready Player One, but I actually think it's almost impossible that one company alone could do that, no matter how great this world that they built was. And I think that if you look at recently, just in the last week with WorldCoin, pretty dystopic stuff, right? You get a free airdrop of cryptocurrency backed by the world's leading VCs, just scan your iris. Don't worry, we've got a clever way of protecting that data. But by the way, this is biometric data in parts of the world that still experience genocide. They are literally rolling this out in, parts of Africa, Southeast Asia. And I think when you combine all of these things, I think there's a high probability that there will be a permissioned metaverse. So it will be meta because it's bigger than just Facebook, bigger than just Amazon, potentially bigger than just Epic. But it will be regulatory compliant. It will be fully integrated with CBDCs. It has millions of great product developers, billions of users, and regulators love it. And I think that that's going to start happening. And I think that given most people currently are still either lazy, they prefer faster, quicker, cheaper. So they'll always go for experience or cost saving. Free, how do you wean people off free? Because of course everything in crypto has some kind of cost to enter. Once you're in it, you can generate a lot more money, you can earn an income, but there's a cost to play. You've got Web 2, which is free to play. We'll even airdrop, some tokens. Just give us your iris. I think that's a very real and present danger.